In 1983, the German magazine Stern, in conjunction with Newsweek in the US and the Sunday Times in the UK, started publishing what they claimed were genuine extracts from the diaries of Adolf Hitler. They had in their possession about 60 volumes. It turns out that these volumes were forgeries by one Conny Fischer, a pseudonym for a guy whose actual name was Konrad Kujau, a guy from East Germany, started off as a petty criminal and forger before he hit on the gold mine of convincing Stern journalist Gerd Heidemann about the existence of these diaries, which he was forging quite badly, it has to be said. The way that these rather poor forgeries evaded detection, despite the likes of Hugh Trevor Roper having a look at them, is the subject, or one of the subjects, of Robert Harris's Seling Hitler, which I believe came out in 1986. Now this is a great read. I was brought to it initially because it was turned into a 5-part miniseries of the BBC called Seling Hitler in 1991, which is up on YouTube and is also worth a watch. It was also adapted for a German movie the following year, 92, called Stonk. I haven't seen that. Anyway, wanting to know more details, I decided to track down Robert Harris's book, and I'm glad I did, because there's a lot in here about the story itself, the basics which I knew from the miniseries, but also there's a lot. It's a cautionary tale because Gerd Heidemann really went down the Nazi rabbit hole. I mean, totally obsessed. Prior to this period of his life, interestingly, he also had previously gone down the searching for notorious author B. Traven's real identity rabbit hole, which is something that interests me, and I must confess to having a fascination with Hitler's henchmen, let's put it that way, myself. So it's a cautionary tale, one which I hope I will take on board. Anyway, Robert Harris, Seling Hitler, highly recommended. Not a classic. I don't think Robert Harris is a fantastic writer, but he's a good enough writer, and when the subject matter is interesting, then his stuff's usually worth a read. The other Harris book with which I am familiar is Pompeii from 2003, which again is not a great novel, but it's a fun page-turner about a Roman aqueduct engineer in Pompeii at the time of Vesuvius's eruption in 79 AD. Interestingly, Harris's friend Roman Polanski was set to turn Pompeii into a movie, which would have been a hugely expensive production. Unfortunately, that never happened. So instead, Polanski ended up adapting Robert Harris's other book, The Ghostwriter, into the movie The Ghost, which was not bad, but I would have liked to have seen that Pompeii movie as by Polanski. Other movies that have been adapted from Robert Harris's work include Fatherland and Enigma. There's one other book of his I read, or at least I read most of it, An Officer and a Spy from 2013, about the not Richard Dreyfuss, damn it, the other Dreyfuss. The Richard Dreyfuss affair would have been very different, I'm sure. Anyway, the Dreyfuss affair, which, wasn't bad. That's it for this edition of the My Balcony review of books.